Mr. William O'Brien.
At the John Mitchell Centenary Concert in November 1915, P.H. Pearse stated in the course of an address that Irish insurrections of the past, instead of being too soon, had all been too late. James Connolly, who was present on the occasion, interjected at once, "Will the next one be too late?" Connolly's part in the insurrection of Easter week 1916 is well known. He had no illusions about the prospects. As we parted in Liberty Hall, shortly before noon on Easter Monday, he whispered to me, "We are going out to be slaughtered." I was very surprised and asked, "Is there no hope?" He replied, "None whatever." Yet I never saw him look happier or more satisfied. During the fight he was wounded, but he insisted upon continuing in command, having a bed made among the fighters in the General Post Office. He was in great pain when the surrender came and suffered a great deal. He was too weak to write his endorsement on the order for surrender signed by Pearse. Yet when he was given the document to sign, he made a material correction in his terms by inserting the word "only." This can be seen in his handwriting on the published facsimile of that famous document. He had no illusions as to his fate. He faced the end fearlessly. When asked if he would pray for the firing party, waiting ready to execute him, he replied, "I will pray for all brave men who do their duty according to their lights." That was the Connolly I knew. Brave, human, even humorous. In the most critical situation, he could always discover a human and humorous side. During the war period, I drew his attention to the fact that the Dublin correspondent of the London Times stated that practically every public building in Dublin displayed recruiting posters, with the exception of Liberty Hall and Trinity College. His comment was, "Two well-known seats of learning." It is well known that Connolly was responsible for the method of street warfare adopted in Dublin during Easter week. He had lectured on this subject frequently. Once, when explaining this method of fighting, he pointed out how unpopular it would make them with the people whose homes and belongings would be endangered or destroyed. But, he added, "Never forget that if we succeed, all our sins will be forgiven. If we fail, all our virtues will not save us from the gallows." Connolly lived as he died, fighting. He was fighting when I first saw him in 1897. He was then organising a protest against the celebration of Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. I was then a boy of 16 and Connolly was 27. But to my boyish eyes, he looked a man from 40 to 45 years old. I was greatly surprised when I later discovered his real age. He was a low-sized, sturdily built man, speaking with a pronounced Scottish accent. He had arrived in Dublin from Edinburgh only the previous year, and had established the Irish Socialist Republican Party, of which he was the leading speaker. From that time on, I attended most of his meetings. I was much impressed by his powers as a speaker. He was extremely well informed in Irish historical and economic subjects. His speeches were clear, logical, forcible, and well delivered. He never used notes, and he never wandered from his subject. In August 1898, Connolly founded and edited a paper, The Workers' Republic. The first issue of it appeared on the occasion of the celebration of the centenary of the insurrection of 1798. Connolly's leading article was on Theobald Wolfe Tone. It opened with this sentence: "Apostles of freedom are ever idolized when dead, but crucified when living." That sentence might well be applied to himself now. In 1903, Connolly was forced to emigrate to the United States, where he spent 7 years. While there, he worked at many jobs, and he was also an organizer for the Industrial Workers of the World, then recently established. He learned much in America, but he was never happy there. and was always thinking of the possibilities of returning to Ireland. I wrote to him about this, and he explained his position in a letter to me in May 1909. "I may confess to you," he wrote, "that I regard my emigration to America as the great mistake of my life, and I have never ceased to regret it." Your letter has aroused the call of Éireann in my blood, until I am always dreaming of Ireland, dreaming of going back to the fight at home. Of late I have been studying very attentively the situation in Ireland, so far as it is possible to do so at a distance, and I am very much impressed with the belief that all the conditions are favourable for a forward move in our direction. That thought has filled me with a burning desire to get back, but as an individual the position was hopeless. I see my way to raise my passage money, but I do not see my way to live after I once set foot on Irish soil. I could not go into the Dublin slums again to live. One experience of that is enough for a lifetime. My children are now growing up, and it is part of my creed that when I have climbed any part of the ladder towards social comfort, I must never descend it again. I am vain enough to believe that I could do good work in Ireland. I am dying to go, but how? If you can answer that question, future generations of little Connollys will rise up and call you blessed. The difficulties were indeed very great, but they were overcome by a committee of which I was secretary, and Connolly was back in Ireland in July 1910.